Good morning, everyone. It's time to go on the record. And this morning, the man in charge of Boston's public schools is with us. Dr. Tommy Chang thinks of the billion-dollar plan to overhaul the city's school buildings. Plus, polls show some candidates gaining on Donald Trump. Has he reached his peak? And
Boston's new school superintendent says he may be open to alternatives to the MCAS.
From WCPB Boston, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Very good morning to everyone. I'm Ed Harding, along with our political reporter here at Channel 5, Janet Wu. Thank you for joining us in OTR. Our guest, as I said, this Sunday is Boston School Superintendent Dr. Tommy Chang. He is with us. He's a happy man. For one reason, the Dodgers have made the playoffs. The second reason, he's not so happy the Red Sox didn't do it. But 1 out of 2 is okay. We'll take the 1 out of 2.
Yes.
Great to have you with us this morning,
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon.
So this week, Mayor Marty Walsh announced a new master plan to upgrade Boston's deteriorating school buildings over the next 10 years. He estimates the cost at more than $1 billion. Let's listen to what he had to say.
So we're not talking about fixing a couple windows and doing some retrofits of energy efficiency here. We're talking about looking at every single space in every single building in our city.
Now, $1 billion, that's a really large number, Doctor. The bulk of this money will have to come from the state capital budget. So with every school district in Massachusetts clamoring for its share of the money, what's the argument that Boston deserves such a big chunk of that cash?
I would say the vast majority of schools here in Boston were built at the turn of the century, the last century. So we have a lot of schools that just are in disrepair, and we have schools that need to be upgraded to match the educational programs we need in the 21st century.
But you know there's always this battle between the suburban schools, Springfield schools, Lowell schools, Lawrence schools, New Bedford schools, vying for that money. Do you think that Boston has not gotten its share up to now and needs to catch up? Or you're saying that, you know, you have to build Boston up for a specific reason that'll affect everybody?
I can't really speak to what has happened in the past, but I do know that in Boston we serve 80% of students are in circumstances of poverty. We have students that are very needy, and they need to come to schools that are respectful of them. And the building and the shape of buildings is kind of the respect that we show to students.
Do you think you're going to have trouble convincing Beacon Hill to give you this cash?
I think it's. I think what the mayor was trying to say, it's beyond Beacon Hills. We may need to look at other funding resources. We may need to go voters. So.
Let's talk about the 27% of the school-age children living in Boston, 27%, over a quarter, do not attend public school in the city. Do you believe that this master plan is key to persuading families to stick with the system? Could this be a contributor to have families stick with the public school system?
I think it can, but I think what's more important, it's about creating environments where students can best learn.
Right.
So it's upgrading the buildings that we have. I literally was walking in a school this week where the school had to cut a hallway in half in order to provide learning spaces for the arts.
That doesn't work.
No, of course it doesn't. It's not a good environment. It's not respectful to kids or families.
Just a few minutes ago, you said you may have to go to the voters. Are you talking about a tax increase, raising property taxes for this?
We don't know. I think the mayor is saying that we need to look at many possibilities because it is going to be costly.
Will you go to private money as well, or is it more you're talking about a tax hike?
I think we need to consider anything.
Okay, let's switch the conversation to DCF and its handling of abused and neglected children. And that issue is sort of front and center right now for everybody. Teachers, in many cases, may be the most stable factor in many of these children's lives. What have you directed your principals to do about this ongoing crisis?
I would say that if there are circumstances where children are in danger, that it is absolutely our responsibility to first report it. So, and we want to be able to report it to an agency that we know will do the investigation, fully investigate, and will then also care for these kids. So that's what our main concern is, that we have an agency that we have trust in when we do make these reports.
Without naming names or saying specifically which schools, have there been cases where teachers have reported it to DCF or any other agency and there's been no response? Is that what you're saying?
I think the response rates have been a little bit longer than we would hope for.
And does this happen frequently and on an ongoing basis or a regular basis?
Actually, I don't have the data behind that. at this point.
And where else do they report it to besides DCF? Were there other agencies that they're instructed to report it to?
It's DCF or law enforcement. That's our responsibility.
Let's talk about the other issue that is it's a campaign of Channel 5 to talk about opioid abuse and the opioids, and we've been doing many stories here on News Center 5 about that. Some school systems have brought Narcan into their buildings, not so much to save the students. Here's the part of this that is eye-opening to me. It's not so much to save the students who may have overdosed on heroin, but it's for the parents or the adults who are accompanying the children who perhaps have an issue, so Narcan being in the school. What's Boston's policy on Narcan?
So Boston has a wellness policy, and our wellness policy is focused on looking at data around what are particular issues that need to be addressed in schools, and in creating comprehensive school plans. In regards to this particular issue, I think as schools, we need to be really focused on not just the monitoring issues, but we need to be focused on prevention and education as a whole. Like, what are we going to be teaching our young kids? And this is happening with very young kids. We're going to be teaching our young kids what healthy behaviors are. So,
is there Narcan in the schools now?
Actually, I don't have specifics.
About 80 of the 300 school districts in the states have it. In this state have it. So it's an issue that's being addressed by schools. Should it be in the schools? Should it be in the Boston schools?
Actually, can't speak specifics about that at this point.
So that conversation has not come up at this point?
Yes. So I myself am trying to learn more and get smarter about this issue.
Well, I think everybody's trying to learn more and get smart about this issue.
Exactly.
But is that part of that whole environment thing you're talking about? You're talking about school building environment, which needs to be upgraded, and perhaps the family environment. You're talking about what 80% of the students you say who come to Boston public schools
live in circumstances of poverty.
Live in circumstances of poverty. That's a contributing factor as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. It is about supporting the whole child. So. I just believe personally that the role of schools is around the education piece of it.
All right, you ready for the OTR pop quiz?
I think so.
Well, see, the last time you were here, we were talking about the Red Sox, and we were talking about baseball, and you were getting into the Red Sox as you moved from Los Angeles. This time we thought, because it's fall, we're going to bring it kind of toward the Patriots' end, but we're going to frame it with a little schoolwork.
Okay.
Because, of course, you know...
So the answer is not dirty water.
No. You can say dirty water if you would like. I'm not going to tell you how to answer the question.
You remember.
But since you're the superintendent of the Boston schools, we've broken this Patriots theme down into school subjects for you.
Okay.
Subject number 1 is history. Tom Brady made history last weekend when he became the 4th quarterback ever in the NFL to do what?
I believe throw 400 touchdowns.
Man, you are right on top of the whole thing. Yeah. Question 2 is math. The NFL moved the spot from where the kickers kicked the extra point this season. How much longer is the extra point in the NFL this year?
I believe it's 5 yards or 10 yards.
13 yards
13
longer,
yards,
which makes it a 33-yard kick. We continue with Dr. Tommy Chang of the record. Stay with us.
Thanks.